Imagine burying your husband and your sister on the exact same day. Now imagine finding out they died together because they were sleeping with each other. The roots of this specific betrayal go back 17 years. Morgan is dating Chris, and her sister Jenny is seeing Chris's best friend, Jonah. The four of them are inseparable. But during a seemingly normal night out celebrating Morgan's birthday, she slips away to a gas station bathroom to take a pregnancy test. It's positive. She keeps the news entirely to herself. Even at 17, Morgan chooses to navigate a life-altering change in total isolation, rejoining the group without saying a word about the pregnancy. This diagram outlines the family dynamics 17 years later. Morgan and Chris are married, and beside them, Jenny and Jonah tied the knot. They've also expanded. Morgan and Chris have a teenage daughter, Clara, while Jenny and Jonah raise baby Elijah. Clara's own life is just starting to take shape. She picks up a classmate named Miller, who is dragging a city limit sign closer to his house to get pizza delivery. During the ride, Miller admits that between his grandfather's medical bills and his own lack of savings, he likely won't be able to afford the film school he dreams of attending. But this suburban routine is violently shattered. Morgan gets a call from the hospital. There's been a severe car accident. Neither Chris nor Jenny survived. As the family gathers in the emergency room to process the shock, Jonah starts asking the questions no one else wants to vocalize. He wants to know exactly why his wife and Morgan's husband were driving in the same car late at night. The immediate trauma is shadowed by an unsettling detail. No one can explain why the two victims were traveling together in the first place. Looking at this digital map interface, we can track exactly what Morgan and Jonah do next. They use a location sharing app to ping Chris's missing vehicle, following the blinking dot straight to a remote motel parking lot. They break into the car. Inside, Morgan uncovers Jenny's personal belongings scattered across the seats. Hard physical evidence tying her sister to her husband's secret trips. The details leave zero room for denial. Chris and Jenny had been meeting here regularly behind their backs. They were deeply involved in a romantic affair. Sticking to her oldest instinct, Morgan decides to swallow this poison completely alone. She chooses to hide the affair from her daughter Clara, desperately wanting to protect the teenager's idealized memory of her father. By forcing herself to act as an emotional shield, Morgan cuts herself off from her own grieving process. She becomes completely withdrawn and increasingly erratic, isolating herself and alienating the exact people she is trying so hard to protect. While Morgan spirals, Clara finds comfort in Miller. Their bond strengthens as he cares for his grandfather, Hank, who is battling cancer. Miller remains focused on Hank's well-being, even as the rising cost of treatment makes Miller's own future seem more uncertain. Meanwhile, shared trauma acts as a magnet for Morgan and Jonah. As they spend their days sorting through the wreckage of their marriages, Jonah admits a secret he's carried since they first met. He has been in love with Morgan the entire time. The emotional dam finally breaks. After weeks of tension and suppressed feelings, Morgan leans in and the two of them share a kiss. Clara walks into the room right at that exact second. From her perspective, her grieving mother is now making out with her dead father's best friend. Clara immediately explodes. She locks herself away, uses Miller for emotional escape, and later weaponizes her raw grief by publicly attacking her mother with biting sarcasm during her own birthday dinner. Morgan's attempt to silently manage the trauma backfired. By burying the details of the crash, she built a pressure cooker in her own home, turning her daughter's confusion into raw anger and damaging their trust. The breaking point arrives at the cemetery. Clara gets drunk at Jenny's grave and finally admits what has been torturing her. She believes her constant text messages to her aunt that night distracted her from the road and caused the fatal wreck. Hearing Clara take the blame forces Morgan to finally stop lying. She immediately corrects the narrative, telling her daughter that Jenny wasn't even behind the wheel. Chris was driving, and with the seal broken, Morgan unloads the rest. She lays out every detail she found at the motel, confirming to Clara that her father and her aunt were sleeping together. Clara suddenly understands the past few months. Her mother wasn't carelessly moving on with Jonah. She was silently absorbing the ultimate betrayal, taking all of Clara's hatred just to keep her father's image intact. The truth shatters the fragile reality Clara had been living in, but it acts as a necessary purge. For the first time since the accident, mother and daughters stop fighting the symptoms of their grief and finally understand each other. Morgan and Jonah gather years of secret letters between Chris and Jenny, igniting them to physically destroy the lingering hold of the past. Clara eventually apologizes and repairs her relationship with Miller. He responds by screening a short documentary film he created, a tribute highlighting the quiet, candid moments he captured of Clara over the years. An unexpected solution arrives for Miller's family. Hank reveals he owns valuable air rights above his property, and selling them provides enough money to pay for both his chemotherapy and Miller's film school tuition. The story ends exactly how their relationship began. Miller drags the city limit sign back to the edge of his property and calls in a pizza delivery. Regretting you proves that while human hearts can be deeply scarred by betrayal, we hold the power to stop the sins of the past from writing our future. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to the Movie Recaps Hub podcast for more story breakdowns.